Shalom, giving all praises to Yahweh Bashem Al Shai Bashem Rakakodah. Shalom to the 144,000 and the rest of the elect out there. Shalom to you all. And I'm going to entitle this video Babylon cannot compete with Moab as far as imports and exports are concerned. They can't compete. This is why Trump called for a tariff. Now they're talking it's 145% tariff for China. It's actually 245. Well, let's round it off to 250%, which basically is saying don't even try to sell here because, and I said in a previous video, if you got a $20,000 car with a 245% tariff, let's round it off to 250%. That car goes from 20,000. By the time you buy it in America, it's 70,000. It's no sense to even bringing, ship cars over there. But they don't need America. That's why the king of Babylon flinched, and it's being shown that he's a paper tiger. But a lot of mouth, no action. He can't back up what he said. And he's looking real bad. Well, as of today, I believe, there's 100 days, and his approval ratings are terrible. He did all this talking. Now he's got to back it up. He can't back it up, and things are getting worse and worse. So now he wants to come to the table and humble himself, and China sees it. So they say, "Oh, we're gonna play this guy." Remember in Daniel chapter 7, where it said he's more stout than his fellow. That includes these other nations too. So this right here is, and then I wanted to go into Ezekiel chapter 37 in the NLT. I was going through it, and when I went to Ezekiel chapter 37 in the KJV, I was thinking about the IUIC being over there in Kenya and in France. Now they were officially set up in France under IUIC France, and the French government, there's no status, when it comes to the IUIC in France. So they're pretty much out of business over there. Like over here in the States, they have a 501c3, so they're in business, for lack of a better term. They're connected to the United States. They got paperwork with the United States. So they did the same thing in France, and it was 2019. It was 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So we're talking about 6 years. And they officially did away with any business dealings with the IUIC. And you had this incident. And this comes 2 weeks after the situation in Kenya. So the Lord is trying to tell you something. Maybe you guys are the elect. Because that's a good thing that the Most High is putting hell on you. When you go to either a Revelation, I'm not going to go to it. Somebody can put it in there. Revelation chapter 2 or Revelation chapter 3 to one of the churches. He said that if you don't change, the Lord said, I'm going to take away thy candlestick. Then another church, he said, I will fight with you. So when you go back to Ezekiel chapter 37 in the King James, just the first verse, and then you go from the King James to the NLT, it clearly speaks about the valley, the dry bones in the valley. The valley is America. The focus is here in America. Your pride allows you to fight against France and going to Kenya and going to these other places. And I see, let's see if I'm correct, that everything you do as far as other countries are concerned is going to end up bad for you. But that might be a good thing, because maybe the Most High wants you in America, because maybe some of y'all are of the elect. But anyway, what I did was, so this is the China's Canton Fair 2025. America is done. Tariffs not working. Because although they make billions of dollars by selling to America, exporting to America, they are, if you go into this video, and then you look up, like if you put in Canton Fair, China's Canton Fair, that's in Canton, China. When you go into the Google, it gives you a lot of information. But I heard somewhere, I don't know, it was a videotape or the news or whatever, or the financial news, Bloomberg, where they said there are 200 countries that are presently at this particular fair. Now remember, they're not doing business with the U.S. If the Chinese decide not to do business with the U.S. will be devastated. Empty shelves all over the place. Because China makes pretty much everything. So this is why Trump capitulated. You look that word up. He's ready to talk, because certain financial experts told him that's a bad move, and he had to swallow his pride. He had to eat crow. And China sees it, and they're saying this guy's a chump. So it's going to be all downhill. But what he can do is he can be nice with him, and they'll continue to send products, and the Americans will continue to buy, because they love to buy stuff even if they don't need it. And we all are guilty of this in America. You go to a particular store, you might see a nice pair of kicks. You really don't need them, but the price might be, the price might be good, so you just buy them, and so forth. Jake buys shit just to be buying shit. Especially you goddamn women. But anyway, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play some of this. I got the sound off. You know what? Let me do this. Let's see if you can see it. By the way, this is also known as a trade show, where you have various companies that they make products, and they have buyers from around the world buy their products. And they do this, they have trade shows, consumer, well, I guess the term is trade show. Let me look that up. Or trade fair. Trade fair, meaning.
Here's the definition of trade show: an exhibition at which businesses in a particular industry promote their products and services.
All right, trade show. Also trade fair. Now I work in the city picking up courier work, and I used to go to the Jacob Javits Center to these trade shows. I remember picking up this one gentleman from England, very nice guy. I remember him like it was yesterday. This is years ago. And I had a van. I had to fill the whole van with stuff because he had a trade show. He came by himself. And we were just talking, and he was going into it, the trade show. But if you go in there, you're like amazed. But it's the people that you see you have the people that create the products, and they have representatives. Then you have the buyers. Like I said, this particular trade show, I guess, is the largest trade show on the planet, and it's in China, Canton, China. Now, so this is 128. Now, somebody made a kind of a joke. Let me go back here. I'm sorry. Let me go to the very beginning. Okay, welcome to the Canton Fair and Gongzi, China, whatever. Now he's going to ask a Moabite seller something. Let's see if it comes up. This place is fucking huge. Okay, this is not it. It's another video. You know, autonomous robots are now the thing. You have robot-driven cars. See, this is what made America great. They were the great exporters of the world. All those companies went to America because of cheaper labor. But the Chinese came up. They became managers and owners and entrepreneurs. Fair use, fair use, fair use. Now this guy, he lives in China. He has a Moabite wife, and he has a son. And he's from England, and he can't stand England. He lives in China. I'm not going to try to read these subtitles. Anytime you go to like a Walmart or a Target's or a BJ's or Costco's or even a Sam's Club, I would say, if not all, but 95%, maybe more, of the items are made in China or made in China and assembled maybe in Mexico. Let me go from here to. All right, let me unclick this. Okay, this is a car company called BYD. Now somebody said it means beyond your dreams, but I think that was a joke. I got to look that up. I'll look it up. U9, Africa invented, China launched. Secret Tech Wars. Now, you know what? This is not the video that I want. Okay, this is the one that I want. So this is a BY. You have a BYD. Now you got a goddamn commercial. Bear with me for a minute. Fair use, fair use. This is an expensive truck, but this truck, if you wind up in a river, it turns into a boat. You can float on the water of a river or even an ocean, a body of water, for 30 minutes. It actually turns into a boat. You have cars in China where you hit a button and it does a 180. Of course, the technology's there, also out of China, where you have self parking. Let me just play this. So this is a guy from England. I mean, America can't compete with. It's called a Wanghang U8. Here it is right here. Look, they can actually float in water. Let me bring that back. If it goes in, make a mistake, go in the water, it's a boat. You can actually drive the car. You see it driving, but it's only for about 30 minutes. So you can get out of a late. You can turn around, whatever. You can get out of it, right? They got this car, which this is in the States. You're talking a car similar to this of this class. You're talking, I believe it was 2 million or something like that. This one I think is something like 200,000. And these people can compete and are better. This is the U8. Oh, this is beautiful too, right here. This motherfucker can do a 180 and a 360. Let me see. Did I go past it? You hit a button and it turns. It can do a 90. You can actually do a 360. And these cars are not in America. If they come to America, they're going to put a lot of car companies out of business. So you can watch this video, fully charged show 9 months ago, BYD. Let me do this. Let me just put in BYD. If I'm not mistaken, it should stand for Beyond Your Dreams, unless that was a joke. Let me see. BYD meaning. Build your dreams. These are the logos. If these cars will ever come to the United States, they would like I said, bankrupt a lot of these, bankrupt Tesla. They can make cars, they say, as good as Tesla, but a lot cheaper. Why do you think Trump put a tariff on them? Because they said, okay, we're going to get money, we're going to make money off of these people. You set up a tariff in a booming economy. We're not in a booming economy. Nobody's going to buy shit. This guy is really, Trump really doesn't know what the hell he's doing. And he's looking real bad, and the whole world sees it. Okay, so now this is what I want to do. I'm going to change gears. And I want to I'll go to the King James first. Vision of the Valley of Dry Bones. Ezekiel 37:1. The hand of Yahweh was upon me and carried me out in the spirit of Yahweh and set me down in the midst or the middle of the valley, which was full of bones. It's not talking about Kenya. It's not talking about Papua New Guinea. It's not talking about Ghana. It's not talking about South Africa. It's not talking about Ethiopia. It's not talking about Nigeria. It's not talking about Barcelona, Spain. It's talking about America. The focus is here on America. Now what I did was I looked up the word valley. Remember, he put Ezekiel in the middle of the valley, the midst of the valley. So the dry bones are Israelites here in Babylon. Now this is what I found out, right? The word here is, in the Hebrew, is bakwai. Now the root word bakwai means split. So the word here is valley, plain, lowland, a land between two mountains. valley, plain, level valley. This place is low on a moral level, spiritual level. Now I was looking at this. I hope I can find it again. Let me see. Bear with me for a minute. Okay, it's not here. Okay, no, it is here. I'm sorry. A valley as if a cleaving, like the Grand Canyon is made up of mountains and valleys. You have two mountains, and between those two mountains, the lowland is known as a valley. Also, a valley is a plain. It's a lowland. I believe the word plain is up in there. Give me a second. Yeah, plain. A valley as if a cleaving and separation of mountains. You got two mountains. Between the mountains is what's called a valley. America is the valley. But more often a plain. A plain is a place with no mountains. You just got this, as far as the eye can see, it's all flatlands. Widely extended plain. This place is 5,000 square miles. Example given, that in which Babylon was situated. Babylon was situated. So you have the ancient Neo-Babylon, then you have Babylon the Great. So the word valley is associated with Babylon. It says, but more often a plain, I'm not going to read all these precepts, a plain country or flat land, widely extended, plain, example given, that in which Babylon was situated. This is Babylon. The Most High did what? He. Let me go back to the first verse again. Remember what Yahushua said in St. John chapter 4, I believe it's the 34th verse or the 38th verse. I'm not going to go to it. The disciples said, do you want meat? We're going to get some meat. And he said, I have meat you know not of. And they didn't know what he was talking about. Oh, he got his own meat, piece of meat that he's going to eat. He went over there. That was spiritual meat. He said, my meat is to do the will of him that sent me and to finish his work. The Lord didn't send the Messiah down here to do what he wants to do his way. He said, no, this is what you're going to do. And you're going to have to die too. Yahweh sent Yahushua on a suicide mission. In a suicide mission, you don't come back. What do you call it in Japan? What was that, World War II? The kamikazes, pilots, they all got in them planes and they knew that they weren't coming back. It was called a suicide mission. And they still lost the war to the U.S. Why? Because the spirit of the Most High is with the U.S. The hand of Yahweh was upon me and carried me out in the spirit of Yahweh and set me down in the midst of the valley which was full of bones. That valley is America. Not France. That's why they broke, and it's understandable. You can't fight them laws. That's not America. France is not a state of America. You can't take them to the Supreme Court. So you can no longer do business with them. And if you go out there, they can arrest you, because you don't have any business being out there. You got to kind of sneak out there now. And I know you guys ain't going back to Kenya anytime soon, because this time some of y'all might get locked up. Some of y'all might get seriously injured. Some of y'all did get injured. Some of y'all might get killed. What Bishop Nate is doing, he's kicking against the pricks. That's in the book of Acts. Yahushua told Paul, why kicketh thou against the pricks? He's doing his thing. And the Most High is tired of him doing his fucking thing. You're going to do the Most High's thing if you're the elect. Maybe you're not one of the elect. So you can consider that a blessing that them Kenyans attack your ass and France no longer does business with you. Stay your black ass here in America. It says, and cause me to pass by them round about. Round about where? In the states, Babylon. And behold, there were very many in the open valley. What's the open valley? America, Babylon the Great. And lo, they were very dry. They had no spirit in them. Jacobs began to wake up here in America. Now, where did I say I was going to go? Let me go to the NLT. I was going to go someplace else. Yahweh took hold of me, and I was carried away by the Spirit of Yahweh to a valley filled with bones. He led me all around among the bones that covered the valley. Remember what the apostle, King David said, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil. What is that valley? He was talking about America, not Kenya. They were scattered everywhere across the ground and were completely dried up. The ground of what? Of Babylon the Great. There was a precept that I went to. You know what I'm going to do? Let me do this. Okay, let me do it in the NLT. Job. I should have wrote these down. 10 and 21. Now this is Job. When you read this, this is talking about death, but it's actually talking about this place right here. Because guess what? Job is here in America too. King David is here in America too. All the prophets are here. The major prophets are all here in America. We don't know who they are. You cool with a certain brother, you find out, oh, that brother was Jeremiah, or that brother was Ezekiel. We're the same people coming back. Spirit of the prophets is subject to the prophets. So you see diligent brothers in GMS, which a lot of them are leaders, and they're constantly doing videos. Those were men, those are prophets back in the past coming back. We just don't know who they are. I don't know who I am. I don't know who Apostle Gabar is or anybody else. If you mention names, I don't know who they are. I don't know who they were in the past. But we're going to find out in the kingdom. Oh, you this brother. Oh, you Ezekiel. Oh, man. Oh, well, you're Jeremiah or whatever. Oh, you're Job. It says, so you know what I'm going to do? Let me read this. Let me read this. Okay, he's talking about death, but he's really talking about the valley. he's really talking about Babylon the Great. But I'm gonna look this up. I'm gonna go to the commentary. I'm not gonna make this too much longer. Let's see where the Spirit takes me. Job 10:19. It would be as though I had never existed. Now he said this in Job 3 as well. Going directly from the womb to the grave. My mother experienced a miscarriage, stillborn, abortion, whatever. I don't want to be here. I have only a few days left, so leave me alone that I may have a moment of comfort, because this thing is the conversation over death. But he said, let me have some comfort before I go to this hellish place. See, we know how to maneuver in this place. So it's not all that bad, but it's bad because we're not look, you don't have a harem of women. You can't get how many of you brothers had gotten a virgin? You ain't gonna experience that, because you wind up locked up. But in the kingdom, every woman that you're gonna have is a virgin, man. She's gonna be untouched, and she's not gonna commit adultery. It said, before I leave, never to return. Never to return. Now in death you return, right? In going to Babylon, you're going to return back to your land. Now I had another precept. I forgot. I should have jotted these down. It says, well, I believe it's in Ezekiel 37 rather. For the land of darkness. That's why Jake, when you tell Jake they can't see it, they buck up against you. They try to get you to come back to Jesus. So that's frustrating too. You tell a Jake and he's talking shit about you, but you got to do it. You got to tell him whether they here for a beer. Then you're going to have ones that are going to listen. Then they're going to learn. Then they're going to be a part of camp. Then they're going to become teachers, and some of them are going to become great teachers. Because the Spirit is going to start working with them. That's 1 John 2. Around about the 22nd verse or so. I'm not going to get to it. Somebody could pull it out. You need no teachers. It said, before I leave, never to return. He's talking about Babylon the Great, which we're going to go into that curse. For the land, the word land here is not the spiritual realm. It's a land. It's talking about the valley of darkness. This is a dark place. Trump doesn't realize that he's the king of Babylon. Trump doesn't realize that he was Nero in the past life. Trump doesn't realize that he's an Edomite. He probably heard us call them Edomites, but Edomites dismissed that. Now the super elite that you never hear about, they know who they are. They know who the Edomites are. Their fellow Edomites are, but they ain't going to tell them. If the super elite professors and the archaeologists, the top scholars, if they was to say that Europeans are Edomites and you are Jake, we all will believe it. But because we say it, Jake ain't going to believe it. So forget about Jake. You got two types of Jakes. You got the elect and the non-elect. So just be concerned about the elect. And you can tell a nigga come roll up, you can tell in a couple of words, this nigga ain't one of the elect. For the land of darkness and utter gloom, depressed. It is a land as dark as midnight. The covering cast in Isaiah, what is that? Isaiah 25:7. A land of gloom and confusion. Babylon, the word Babylon means confusion. Where even the light is dark as midnight. Meaning, if I tell a Jake about the truth, It'll go in one ear and out the other ear because we're giving them the light. We're showing them the light. Here's a light, brother. I just gave you a flashlight. And you throw the flashlight away. It says where even the light is dark as midnight. So the Most High, in Amos 3, the Most High gave us these secrets. And we're supposed to put it out there. What ye hear in the house, speak ye on the rooftop. Just merely paraphrasing. So we tell people about reincarnation, that you're the Israelites, that the so-called white man is Edomites, and the Chinese are the Moabites, and this, that, and the third. If you're not one of the elect, you're not going to get it. You're not going to perceive it, as the scriptures say in Isaiah 6 and 9. Made their ears heavy, dull. Their hearts heavy. Their ears dull, that they cannot hear, they cannot see, they cannot perceive. And you might have an uncle, your favorite uncle, you're talking about Israel, he ain't going to get it because he's a Muslim. He said, I'm a Muslim, brother. And forget about a Muslim. You wake a Muslim up, you good. Most I wanted that person to wake up. So then, you know what I'm going to do? Let me look up the word confusion right here. Matter of fact, let me go to the King James, back to the King James. Not going to be too much longer. Okay, it doesn't say confusion here. A land of darkness as darkness itself and the shadow of death without any order, and where the light is darkness. Without any order is these laws are contrary to the Most High. You can be a happy person. You can be a bundle of sticks all you want. You can be a happy person and be with as many happy person as you want. But if you're a real man and you get married one woman, you married another woman, you going to jail. You can tell me this is not the place of utter confusion, the darkness. This is it. But guess what? We almost out of here. So let me go back to Ezekiel 37 in the NLT. I'm going to read a couple of verses. He led me all around among the bones. In where? In the midst of the valley. Where is the valley? The valley is Babylon the Great. Your focus is here in America. The deliverance is going to come out of America. The salvation is going to come out of America. So it's not urgent for these people in other countries to get it because they're not going to eat the missiles. They covered the valley floor. Anywhere you go in this country, you're going to run into Jake. They were scattered everywhere across the ground and were completely dried out. So we got to pour water on them. We got to rehydrate them. The water, which is the word. Then he asked me, Son of man, can these bones become living people again? O sovereign Yahweh, I replied, you only know the answer to that. Then he said to me, speak a prophetic message to these bones and say, dry bones, listen to the word of Yahweh. So what is he to say? He's to teach them, go into the scriptures, have conversations, put the videos up on the live streams or the sit downs. And the elect will get it. You don't got to go to Africa. You don't got to go to Japan or Spain to talk to people face to face. The Most High gave us the World Wide Web, which does our heavy lifting. This is where the people came in, through the unicorn. This is what the sovereign Yahweh says. Look, I am going to put breath into you and make you live again. The breath is the knowledge. I will put flesh and muscles on you and cover you with skin. I will put breath into you and you will live and you will come to life. Then you will know that I am Yahweh. So you can't say you're woken up if you don't know, we don't know the name of the Most High. The Most High going to give us a new name. What is that? What is that? Zephaniah. We're gonna all have to get it together. No. The elect is going to get it for the rest of Israel. We're going to know the name before we get to the kingdom. And then the Israelites that don't know it on this side, they're going to know it on the other side. So I spoke this message just as he told me. He followed the blueprint. The Most High gave him the blueprint. Just like Yahushua said in St. John 4. My will is to do, my meat is to do the will of him that sent me and to finish his work. Yahushua got the blueprint. Yahushua gave the blueprint to the 12. The 12, the apostles followed the blueprint. Suddenly as I spoke, there was a rattling noise all across the valley. Where's the valley? Right here. Moses set him in the midst of the valley. Kenya is not the valley. Nigeria is not the valley. Spain is not the valley. The DR is not the valley. The PR is not the valley. The bones of each body came together and attached themselves as complete skeletons. Then as I watched muscles and flesh form over the bones, then skin formed to cover their bodies, but they still had no breath in them. So what does the breath ultimately mean? The 100% truth. You got Yah Israelites. You got Israelites that only think that you got to be a so-called black man, an African American. The Yahweh ben Yahweh. Do you know they didn't even accept if you was a West Indian or a Haitian, you could not be a part of them. You had to be a Negro. And I asked them, because they were all over the place. And this is the time when I made a decision at 20, 23, 24. I asked them a question. I said, what if somebody's West Indian? He said, if you're West Indian, you're going into slavery or whatever they said, or Haitian. He said, you got to be an African American to be an Israelite. And when they said that, I said, the Most High is not dealing with them. And I said, I'm going to get with the One West. And then about a month or two later, they actually came up to the school. And I remember, they came up to the school saying, oh, we got to protest America. What we're planning on doing, that's why they ain't around no more. It shall come to naught, pursuant to Acts 5:38. You know what they said? They said we're going to go. I believe they said we're going to go to either JFK or LaGuardia. He said we're going to go to LaGuardia, and we're going to lay down on the what do you call it, the runways. We're going to get 1,000 of us, and we're just going to lay down on the runways so the planes can't fly. So we were like, are these niggas crazy? And we were explaining things. They didn't know the prophecies at all. They didn't know the prophecies at all. You know? But I remembered it like it was yesterday, man. They didn't have fringes on. They had long robes, white robes. And they would say Yahweh, Yahweh ben Yahweh. So Yahushua is Yahweh ben Yahweh. So the leader was Yahweh, the son of Yahweh. Which Yahweh is not the right way of saying the name. So there's another story I told y'all. These niggas actually wanted us to lay down. We're going to go to LaGuardia, and we're going to get 1,000 of us, and we're going to lie down, and we're going to lie down on the runways. There was this other congregation, and I remember I was talking to him, even if I was out in the truth. It was a congregation in Mount Vernon. If you know about upstate, a little further, not too far from the Bronx, White Plains Road. You got the last stop on the train, that's Mount Vernon. You go to the last stop, and that's the Bronx. A lot of Benjaminites are around there. That's Benjaminite town. So you had a temple there, and even Nate went to that temple when he called me. This was 2002, 2001, 2002. He called me. He had my number, my cell phone. But that's when we had them bullshit ass cell phones. And he told me that their little school broke up, and they would and what they would, the shit that they were doing was some crazy ass bugged out shit. You got to eat pork. Oh, he said that I never said. He said that he never said that. He did say it. He did. I don't have nothing to prove it. I'm just telling you what it is. Be a man about it and admit it. Don't lie and say, this guy's saying that I told people to eat pork. You told me that. But you're going to play on that shit because you're a trained fucking cop. I don't know what you talk. Hey, like Alonzo said, it's not what you know, it's what you can prove. And that's what they teach cops to do. It's not what you know, it's what you can prove. That's how the courts work. You can say, I seen this and he did this and he did that. They're going to say, where's the evidence? Well, I don't have no evidence. I'm figuring, I swore in, I figured you. He said, well, we can't accept that. Because that's hearsay or whatever the case may be. So I remember we were talking, and he said, and he was by himself. He had nobody follow him at that time. He had to start all over from scratch. 2001, and then 2001, end of 2001 going into 2002, 2003, he started, which is now called the IUIC. I'm giving you some history. And half of the guys from the Connecticut school under us, they wound up getting with him in the beginning. And then they wound up falling back out again. So he told me about the same school, which I had went to years ago, maybe in the 90s. And this one guy was telling me in that school, they weren't radical. When I went up in that school, the teacher, the high priest or whatever, he was teaching like a damn rabbi, like an Edomite. And then I started getting radical because I'm used to speaking radical about Esau and this and that. And there was an older gentleman, very old Jake. He said, let this man speak. I like this man. He said, he should be the teacher. Then they had like downstairs, they had a Hebrew class, and I spoke to the brother in Hebrew. He knew the Hebrew. And then one of the brothers, I don't know if it was the Hebrew teacher or one of them, he was speaking about that, we actually know a real prophet. He said, this brother, he mentioned a guy's name, and he said, you know what proof he's a prophet? Because he walked from New York to Detroit. And I'm in my mind, I said, these niggas are bugged out of their fucking mind. Walking from New York to Detroit does not make you a prophet. It makes you a crazy person. But anyway, many, many years later, when they called me and told me about how the school broke up, they started teaching that back then, this was 2001, 2002, he said that they had got together and said, you can't have a wife unless she's in the truth. If she's in the truth, I don't care if you got kids with her, you got to cut her off. You got to go home tonight and let her know, are you in the truth? And she, no, I'm not in the truth. I'm a Baptist. There was dudes that packed their shit up that night and fucking left. Then he said the thing about the pork. He said, when how they pushed the law, he was saying we're not supposed to keep the law. We're under grace. And to prove it, you gotta eat pork in front of us. What if you just say, I'm gonna, well, wait a minute. I guess you would have got the chip back there. You had the chip. You had the MOTB. Because it's sent in all of its forms. You were telling them, you were giving them the chip, the MOTB. See, you guys that stick with this guy and you don't window shop, we don't know what's going to happen to you. If you're not of the elect, I'm just blunt, you're not going to make it. Like I said a couple of weeks ago, Al-Azhar, he's not one of the elect. He's not one of the elect. Because they ain't no elect going to do with the shit that he did. I told him, I said, the best thing to do as a man of honor, if you have any honor, is to get your house in order. Because you can't come back from that. So now Nate, for years, been doing his, he said, I'm going to that school in Mount Vernon. He ain't had nobody with him. And you know what? I said, you know what? You want me to come up there with you? He said, no. Now, when he said no, I know why he said no. Because he said, if me and him get together, I'm going to assume the higher rank. And he didn't want that. He wants to be the man on the horse. See, we know this guy. Now, he's going to say, I said I did. I never said that. Of course, you can say that. Because you're a trained police officer. You're a detective. You guys are trained fucking liars, man. What is a lawyer? A lawyer is a trained professional liar. What is a politician? A trained professional liar. What are police officers? Trained professional. They lie their fucking asses off, man. A lot of cops get divorced by their women because they lie their ass off. They showed you how it is, that movie Training Day. And I met the actual guy, Alonzo. He said, I'm Alonzo. But he said I wouldn't corrupt like that. And he sued the movie company. He showed me the papers and they gave him some get out of my face money. I think they gave him like 40 G's. But that made him happy. He said, I'm fucking Alonzo. His name was actually Alonzo. He said that's character's based on me. And he's from New York. So you dealing with a cop, a former cop, he's a fucking liar, man. And they're trained to see your body language as to whether you can lie or not. It's called the pantomimes. They feature that in the movie True Romance. With this guy, I forget his name. He played an Italian mafia guy, and he went into the body languages. The pantomimes. I think he said there's 18 pantomimes. Women just have 17 or something like that. He said, matter of fact, if you go to YouTube, you can even watch that whole scene. And this is the scene where, what's his name? Hoyley. What the hell is his first name? Something Hoyley. And this guy said it sounded like a nigger name. But his father was played by this guy, Dennis Hopper. And he said, these guys, these are mobsters, they're going to kill me. And so he just told the truth. He said, you guys are Sicilian, right? He said, you guys are a bunch of niggas. And then they killed them. Because they didn't want to hear the fact, hey, you know how many Sicilians and people from Naples that I've met through the years that'll tell them, well, of course, well, tell me something I don't know. Of course, we're a product of the Moors. Anyway, I just wanted to feature that, going to that movie. You watch that scene, and that's where he says it. He said, this is what cops learn. They learn body language, the feds, the CIA. They talk to you, they know that you're lying. So you got to know the body languages, the pantomimes. Anyway, I'm going into a whole different subject. But Nate is a trained liar. He's a trained liar. So things he said that I said that he said that he never said that I'm lying on him. Look, I know the man personally. He was in my camp. Apostle Gabar knows the man personally. We used to hang out with them guys here and there. Apostle Ricard knows this guy. Apostle Ramblob somewhat knows this guy. Not as much as myself, Apostle Gabar, and Apostle Ricard. We know this guy. He's the guy that said he had a dream when the split came. He said he had a dream that he had the oil was taken away from him, and the oil was given back to him. Guess what? I got a question for y'all out there. Does he have the oil now? Let's say that dream is true. Does he have the oil now? And the answer is no. No. He doesn't have the oil right now. He better hope like hell that dream comes in. Well, that part of the dream came true. He lost the oil. Because he had the oil. It was cool. He lost the oil. That part of the dream came to pass. And he's still in that part of the dream. So will the end of the dream come to pass? You better hope. You better hope that the end of the dream, that end of that dream, and we used to call this nigga the dreamer. This nigga had dreams on everything. I had a dream about this, and I had a dream about that, and I had a dream about this thing, and I saw a vision of that. But a lot of that shit will come true. You better not do this. I had a dream that you went that way and something happened to you. Don't go that way. So he was the dreamer. All right? So if that dream comes to pass, he'll get the oil back, and we're going to laugh at him, and we're going to pat him in the back. We said, well, we understand, nigga. Then we're going to remind him of the dream. So if that dream come to pass, if that was a dream, which part of the dream came to pass, he lost the oil. He does not have the oil, ladies and gentlemen. He does not have the oil, folks. The scriptures tell you about a dream. Dreamers, in the last days especially. So the question is he going to get the oil back? If he does, he can thank the Most High. Remember when he did the video about Yahweh, the true name of Yahweh and Yahweh Shai? He ain't teaching that. Does he have the oil? If he had the oil, he would be calling on the name of Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. He would have all his people that followers call on the name Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. He wouldn't be teaching about hell. He would teach the MOTB the right way. Back when we knew him, if I brought up to him the MOTB, he would see it. He would see it. He don't see it now. Why? Because he doesn't have the oil. The question is he going to get the oil back? Anyway, with that, I'm going to say shalom.